Please have a seat. Good evening. Welcome to the Henry County Board of Commissioners. Our regular schedule 6:30. Board meeting Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. We'll begin our meeting with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could have Pastor Leonard Himes to come forward and lead us in the invocation and pledge, and if everyone would stand.
Well, good evening. Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you, Lord, for this privilege of being together tonight. And Lord, as we make some recognition of life accomplishments, Lord, and yet the business of governing. So we ask you to meet with us and show yourself among us, lead, guide, and direct. Lord, we thank you for each and every one that labors in this vineyard. We pray you'd bless them, bless their families. Help us in this meeting tonight, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. The following public hearing was advertised for April 23rd, 2024 BOC meeting has been removed by staff. Public hearing removed. Request to abandon a portion of Bridges Road right-of-way. We also will be adding an executive session for pending litigation matters. Recognitions and proclamations. First, I would like to recognize that Woodland High School, we recognized Woodland High School on March 19th. At that time, they had not attended the state competition, but they have reported back that the following individual awards were won. Jaden Clark for Best Attorney. The Woodland High School team won the State Professionalism Award. And Abrana Ashmead won Best Witness. And so we'd like to congratulate those individuals from Woodland High School that competed in the state competition. They made it all the way to state. And I promised Judge Danielle Roberts that I would make mention of how the outcome of that competition was. So congratulations to those students. Next, we will have recognition of, and I hope I'm gonna butcher the name. Where's Miss Thornton at? Where's Mama Thornton? Where's Shayna? Tell me how to pronounce that baby name. Triandos and Noah Thornton for their community service. We're going to have Nicholas Ivy come forward and to, do you have the recognition? Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I have two certificate of recognitions for you for brothers Triandos Thornton and Noah Thornton, and they read, "The Henry County Board of Commissioners extends its sincerest gratitude and appreciation to brothers Triandos and Noah Thornton for their civic engagement and altruistic spirit in serving the community through various efforts, including food drives, book drives, and toy drives over the past 7 years. Although just 12 and 9 years old, respectively, the Thornton brothers have graciously lent their time and talents to help those in need, and we wish them much success in their future endeavors."
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
We'd like to ask them to come forward along with their mom. I've been knowing these kids since they were little ones, and they have always followed in their mom's footsteps because she is always out in the community and doing things, and so everybody knows them as the Bowtie Brothers. So we'd ask the board to stand. I know it's quite a few family members that are here to support them as well. So if, Shayna, if you all could get right along here, tall people in the back, let the little ones in the front. Okay, the school principal here? Okay, okay, and Dad. Okay, everybody's here. The whole family. School board chair, Sophie Pope. And I see Deborah Abernathy. I see quite a few people here. Oh, hey.
I would like to congratulate them as well. Those are my babies, so congratulations to them.
Y'all, these are our future leaders. We need to stand and congratulate these young men.
I'm going to get a picture as well. So, and just to further what the chair said, these young men live in my district. And I just want to say, a lot of times, especially these days, we have a lot of negative things to say about young people. When we have young people who are doing the things that they are doing, just as she said, our future leaders, we need to celebrate them and make sure that we get behind them so that they can rub off on their counterparts and everybody else in the community. So I wholeheartedly congratulate these young men. This is what we need to have in our community. So thank you very much for sharing them with us, Ms. Thorne.
So if we can if the board can just get a picture with the young men, we'd like to do that over to the side.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Y'all might as well stay over there. We got some more. I want to also acknowledge that Commissioner Neek Robinson is joining us via phone. She had an emergency. They had to rush her father to the hospital, so she's at Piedmont Henry with him. And so let's keep her in our prayers. Keep her dad in our prayers. And Commissioner Robinson, you just let us know if you have to leave at any point. Next item is National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. Nicholas, you're going to read that?
Proclamation of recognition of Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week, which took place April 14th to the 20th, 2024, It reads, whereas the National Animal Care and Control Association has designated the second week of April as National Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week. And whereas various federal, state, and local government officials throughout the country take the time to recognize, thank, and commend all animal management officers and animal services personnel for the dedicated services they provide to the residents, public safety, and public service agencies and departments across the nation. And whereas every day Henry County animal control officers put themselves in potentially dangerous situations to protect the health and welfare of all kinds of animals and the public. And whereas Henry County Animal Care and Control personnel provide humane sheltering, daily care, spay and neuter services, and critical medical care for animals in need, as well as facilitate outreach such as adoptions, lost and found pet assistance, vaccination, and microchip clinics, outreach, and education. And whereas while 1 week may not be long enough to recognize the hard work and sacrifice of our animal control officers, they are appreciated and kept in our thoughts and prayers daily in their service to Henry County. And now therefore it be proclaimed that the Henry County Board of Commissioners recognizes the week of April 14th through the 20th as Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week in Henry County and commends the animal management and animal shelter personnel for the many dedicated and long hours of service to this community and for fulfilling the county's commitment to provide the highest and most efficient level of customer service to our residents.
If we have anyone from our animal control department, police department that's here, please come forward. And y'all, this is a tough job. This is a tough job, and we appreciate you all.
I'm 30, but thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, so right here.
Actually, we do one more. 1, 2, 3.
Hold please for another picture.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate
And our final recognition for the night, but certainly not the least, is our National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. That's our 911 dispatchers and operators. If it wasn't for them, the rest of public safety wouldn't work. So, congratulations. So Nicholas, if you would read their presentation as well.
Yes, ma'am. So the proclamation reads, in recognition of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, And it reads, whereas emergencies that require the assistance of police, fire, or critical medical services can occur at any time, and when an emergency arises, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our residents, as well as the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from callers who contact the Henry County E911 Emergency Communication Center. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the first line of responders and most critical contact our public has with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities through radio and providing them information to ensure their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Henry County, Georgia's E911 department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, treatment of patients, and service to residents. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year and continually strive for excellence in the public safety sector. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Henry County Board of Commissioners recognizes the week of April 14th through the 20th, 2024 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Henry County, and encourage the community to honor the men and women whose diligence and professionalism help keep our county safe and its people safe.
This way, and one more. Thank you.
What you need? What you need?
Oh, I did, okay.
You want to put it by me? You want to put it by me?
I mean, she can sit everywhere, anywhere she wants to.
Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda is the Henry County Board of Elections and Registration update. If we could have the Director, Amika Banks, please come forward.
So first, I would like to say good evening to the board,
Good evening.
as well as good evening to County Manager Matthews and my cluster lead, Shannon Sanyo, my representatives of the Board of Elections, my staff and my husband, and all of the Henry County viewers that are here and the ones are online. So we're going to begin my presentation speaking about voter registration. I did a breakdown on this so that you all would know how many actual active and inactive voter registration voters in your counties. We have a total of 194,487. For District 1, we have 38,899. District 2, 38,941. District 3, 40,488. District 4, 37,140. And District 5, 39,019. Oh, wait. Before I go on, I also want to give a few little tidbits. Advanced voting begins next Monday, April 29th, at all early voting locations except for Fairview and J.P. Mosley. But on our website, we have a full schedule for all of the weeks along with the times. Also, I want the public to be aware and understand on May 10th, that is your last day to be able to request an absentee by mail. It is very important to do that. We mailed out our very first batches of absentee by mail on yesterday, and we sent out over 650. Sample ballots. So I do know there are some concerns with sample ballots, particularly with this past ballots that were approved, and the chair race was missing. I want to apologize. I have not been able to do so and say, so I will do that publicly. One of the things with ballot proofing, there's a process where we get a proofing team. The proofing team comes together. You have 2 people that are part of a team. In this particular time, we had 5 teams. During that time, we check for headings, we check for candidates. We also verify and make sure that the incumbent is by incumbent candidates, and we make sure they're in the right format. We did fail with complying with making sure that everything was done. I found this out on the night of the 10th. It was Wednesday evening, and immediately we took action. I called 2 of my staff members to go to the office to find out, was this true? So when they got there, they did. They found out that actually the race had not appeared on the ballot. Although it was late night hours, we reached out to Secretary of State. We made action to let them know that this error had taken place and it needed to be corrected as soon as possible. And as promised, first thing that morning, they called me, we discussed it, they redid the ballot, sent us new proofs, and we did a more thorough search than we did before. We made sure we had all of the qualified candidates' names and lists and races along with each team, as well as we had the state candidates. And what we would do, we would shift it over for the others to look at it, to put another set of eyes. So at this point, when we were able to verify and make sure that all the information was correct, we sent it back, and we had the ballots to be corrected. No excuse, but it happened, and what we're doing to make sure that don't happen again, we're gonna make sure that we not only have the number of 5 teams of 2, we're gonna increase that. And also to help those teams that are proofing, we're gonna allow them to take process and be a part of our qualifying. What a time of qualifying to learn the actual candidates that are gonna be running in the local office. So when we get our information packets in from the different parties, as well as those that qualify in our department, we're gonna have our proofing team to put second eyes on making sure, number 1, that they have all of the information that they're supposed to have. Number 2, making sure that they've turned in everything that's needed. And when we're about to post them on the Secretary of State website, at the end of qualifying, they will assist as well again, putting another set of eyes on it to make sure that we're covered. One of the other things that we noticed with qualifying, that's the parties that do their own qualifying, because we only do nonpartisan, we're working to make sure going in the future to correct some things that may not have done properly. Along with some of my board members, we're going to train them. They usually are trained by state. Some of them usually have people that have been there in longevity that actually knows the process. So I won't take that for advantage anymore, and I'm gonna work and collaborate with them to make sure they understand the exact process with qualifying. So those are some of the things that we're doing to help the situation with making sure that we are ballot proofing, we are on top of making sure correct names are on the Secretary of State website. We've just taken certain measures to do that, as well as doing some written SOPs to be used, just in case this is someone that's not a veteran, that's done it before, to be able to understand the process. So as far as municipals and the city races, speaking of proofing, this past November, we had a situation where one of the municipals sent in their candidates, and one of them was actually a vote for 3 race when they actually said vote for 1. And being that I and my staff, we just accepted what they had given us, and what we learned from that, that was a no-no. Because the very first thing that morning, there was a candidate that came up for a particular city, wanted to do vote for 3, that was a part of that, it was actual candidate. And we learned then that she had given us some wrong information. So I never want to point finger and, cause blame. I call it like it is, but I want to do what I can to help, because we are all supposed to be working together as Team Henry, despite of it being a municipal or not. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to include the city clerks to be a part of the ballot proofing, because no better than them to know who's supposed to be on the ballot. So although they may send us information in, I'm going to collaborate with them more and work with them throughout the year. The time that I do have during an election year is this such. We are making plans to meet together so that we can do that more often. Also, with the city races, in the municipals right now, we have City of Stockbridge and we have City of Hampton, who do not have separate polling locations. The last 2 that have separate polling locations, and when I speak of that, if you all don't understand, those out there listening, when you have to vote for a county election, you have to go to one location. If you have to vote for a city election, you have to go to another. And even with early voting, you can go in and early vote in that one place, but you have to get in line for one, which is county, and the other for municipal. So I am currently working with City of Locust Grove as well as City of McDonough, either asking the city clerk to get it on the agenda or invite me to explain the process and understand why it's an important need. It's an important need because it is confusion for the voters. Previous to me coming to Team Henry, I worked for the Secretary of State, and I got calls every time, back to back to back, with voters being upset that they have to go one place and go to the other. So I'm still fighting to get that under wraps so we won't have to worry about that particular situation. Next, ballot uploads, excuse me. So we have a vendor, No Ink, who does the uploads of the electronic ballot. So you all are familiar with the actual voting machine BMD, where you get the card, you go in, you put the card in, and you vote. In that process of uploading that machine, that's called logic and accuracy. We call it LNA, so if you ever hear that, that's what that means. We make sure that the ballot's on there. We actually touch the screens, print out a ballot. That's one way to make sure the machines are working and the printers are actually printing out the ballot. The second thing that we do, we program the scanners. And those ballots, we take randomly ones to use those ballots to scan through the scanner and make sure that the scanner is actually reading that ballot. Now, the poll pads, when you go on election day and they give you the card that we spoke about previously, they upload information to us electronically that we put on that poll pad. Back in 2023, November, for the special election as well as municipal, there was a situation, again, that we spoke about where it was some issues. not only just with the vote for 3, but for the district, special election for District 2. And for whatever reason, it did not upload. So when a person got their ballot and went to the BMD, they tell them, you know, my person wasn't on the ballot. Some did, some did not. Some walked away, none were turned away, because we have a process in place. If you know that you're supposed to be voting and you're in that precinct, they give us a call and ask us. We look them up into our Georgia system. And if they are, we tell the poll manager, manually make them a ballot. They have a way where they can go to that machine with a card and program it to pull the ballot up so the voter can actually still vote, not necessarily provisional or emergency. And if, whatever reason, some people are not comfortable with that, so we will offer them an emergency ballot, and in some cases, a provisional. So if a person is turned away, it's not necessarily just saying that they can't vote. It's a reason why either they just choose not to, or either they may be in a different district and they feel like they're in that district and they're not. So I know there were some concerns that I want to explain about that. Election preparation. So we don't have much time for me to go in very big detail explaining all that, but I was gonna hit on a few things. One of the things that we begin doing is we start with making sure that we reach out to our precincts that allow us to use their facilities to conduct elections. Once we reach out to them, we give them the upcoming schedule so that they can make it, put it on their agenda and make availability for us. And then the next thing that we do is we start preparing for delivery of equipment. We also start scheduling the access to the polling locations, make sure that we have ability to go in and out of the facilities when we are delivering equipment, making sure they're still up to code and there hasn't been any changes. We obtain emergency contact numbers from the building, just in case if something happened, a bad key and the poll manager can't get in, so we'll have someone to reach out to. And then we also designate times for setup of what we call the delivery and pickup. Delivery is on that Monday before the election, and pickup is the day after the election. Another part of preparing for election is the poll workers. We start sending out emails. If we don't receive response by emails, we will give them a call. We recruit new poll workers when necessary. And then we also make sure that we get with our poll managers and assistants. So we do allow our poll managers to select who they would like to be their poll workers. And if they have someone that's not able to come, then they'll be able to select. After that, we schedule poll worker training. We have come up with a process so they can do the homework part of knowing the different laws online. And a lot of poll workers were wanting to do hands-on, so we have a process now where they can come in, understand how to change the roll of tape, how to understand how to remove ballots out of the emergency bin, and things like that, that sometimes they forget because from one election to the next, you know, sometimes, as they say, you don't use it, you lose it. So they were requiring us to give them a hands-on, and that's something that we do as well. We have to do everything as far as administering oaths, making sure that they have breaks and different things prepared. Then comes election day. The managers are scheduled to be there 6:30, 6:15, because one of my goals that I stress to the poll managers is that I don't want us to be ready at 7 o'clock, I want us to be ready 10 minutes till. So that is something that they do, and by law, they have to be open by 7 a.m. on election day. So the polls open. We have area managers now where they go, we have them designated into each district, so that way, if some type of document is not in their bags, because there is a process also in elections with preparing manager bags. If something is missing or if they've ran out, we have area managers that have those supplies on hand with them in their vehicles that go out and a more quickly response to be able to assist the polling managers and the polling location to have things that they need. Also, we have provisional ballots there as well as emergency ballots, just in case if there's just not necessarily a malfunction with something that's wrong with the voting equipment, but let's just say the lights go out. So we do have those processes in place as well. Of course, coming to the end of closing the polls, you have to determine who is the last voter in line. And normally we have someone to go out around 7:30. So who is in line, stand with them, and at 7 o'clock, whoever that person is that's in line, that person that's responsible to check that, they stand behind that person. And they just politely let people know, you didn't make it in time, 7 o'clock, so you cannot. Sometimes it get a little ugly, and we usually have patrolmen. I'm thankful for the sheriff department. They are always present. They assist with delivering equipment and everything, but I just wanted to give them a shout out. But that is a part of the process as well. And so at that point, they close the polls, we have a runner that bring the memory cards to our office, and then they go ahead and bring their ballots and all of the documented paperwork that we have to turn into the state. Another part of election preparation that's very important is setting and publishing qualifying fees. We also have to do public notices, referring back to the logic and accuracy that we spoke about. We have to post, if we intend to tabulate early, Georgia do allow you the third Monday from Election Day that you can begin doing early opening of ballots as well as tabulating. A public notice is also put out for early voting. And I think that concludes my presentation. Do you all have any questions?
Thank you, Director Banks. Yes, I do have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we talk about the preparation of the information that goes when you're doing the ballot proofing, does everyone not have a list of the races that are up for election for this particular voting season?
That is the process. When the chair race was missed on that ballot, once I did some investigation, that actual list of candidates were not provided.
But you have a list of races.
We have a list of races and candidates, so next to...
I understand that, but what I'm saying is regardless of whether you have the candidate list or not,
It's both.
you got a list of races that are supposed to be on the ballot,
Correct.
period.
Correct.
And so that should have been caught because you know what races are up in the gubernatorial, in the presidential, and even in the municipal.
You're absolutely right.
And so even if you didn't have the list of candidates that's qualified, you know what races that were supposed to be on the ballot. The other piece, when you talked about the provisional ballots and other types of ballots that you can give individual, I guess what I have concern about is that in giving a person a provisional ballot, is your worker that's at that particular precinct explaining to them the process when you use a provisional ballot. Because if you give them that, then they have to come back in 3 days, up to, I think it's 3 days unless I know so many of the election laws have changed. But if you give them a provisional ballot, then they still have to come back to bring ID or verification or whatever. My concern, to be fair to voters that take the time out to come and vote, is that they are at least given the correct information. A lot of people are given a provisional ballot. They think that if they vote on that, that's all they have to do. And that vote doesn't count. So the person spent the time to come and vote, and the provisional ballot doesn't really mean anything unless you come back. And so I don't think a lot of people understand that process. When you're not allowed to vote either on an absentee ballot, or if you're not voting on the machine, when you take other methods to vote, there are other procedures that go along with that. And so does your department have some type of educational information, printed information, whether it's on your website, whether it's printed, that can be handed to voters so that they can understand the processes?
Madam Chair, one of the things that we do is we have information there to provide to the voters that do have to use provisionals. We do train designated people that handle provisionals at the polling locations so that one person is definitely trained and know what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to be able to vote on their provisional, whatever information and reason why they were not able to vote on the machine. They have 3 days after the election, by 5 o'clock that Friday after the Tuesday election. So we do have measures in place. Sometimes they hear you, sometimes they don't. Some don't like to use provisional, not making an excuse and just giving some real situations that take place. But we've had that issue before, but we've been told that they weren't explained. So we do go over that each and every training to the poll manager as well as the person that's designated to be provisional lead.
And I think that a lot that, I mean, because we're the ones that get the calls.
Right.
I'm getting the calls when the precincts don't open up on time. I'm getting the calls when the machines are down and not working, you know.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're getting them too.
Yes, ma'am.
But they're calling the commissioners, they're calling the county manager. And so, and I know that there are going to be times that things are just going to happen and it's out of anybody's control.
Yes.
But I think being transparent and being, you know, hey, if the machines are down for an hour, then hey, the precinct need to be open an extra hour.
Absolutely.
And whatever's necessary that needs to take place to get the judge to allow for that to happen, then we need to make sure that that happens. Because we want to give those individuals, those voters, the opportunity to be able to exercise their right to vote, even in spite of any obstacles that we may have. And I just want to, you know, we've had this conversation among the board members and stuff, and I know that it can be challenging a lot of times.
Yes.
But we just want to make sure that we're not disenfranchising anyone's right to be able to cast their vote. A lot of complaints that we hear is about candidates not being on the ballot. And, you know, whether that's the ballot printing people and I know that is a state function, but, you know, information needs to be there because once they cast that ballot, then that's it. But see, I don't think a lot of times people understand that you can stop and say, hey, this ballot is not right, and then have the opportunity to have that fixed. Again, that goes to the education piece. How can we better educate our voters here in the county as to, if you have an issue, this is what you need to do? And I see that piece being missing because a lot of people just don't know. A lot of the voters don't know. And so I think that it is our obligation as leaders to make sure that people understand that if you have an issue, report it to the manager there or report it to someone, and so that way we can try to get that matter fixed. Commissioner Wilson.
Can you go through how the poll pass gets this information one more time? I think I maybe misunderstood what you said.
You mean in the polling pads?
Yeah, the poll pad, how it gets this information and how the voters' cards are created. Can you Walk me through that again, please.
Okay, so what they do is, the vendor is is a vendor that is hired by Secretary of State, and their job is to take the project. So let me explain what the project is. The project is whenever they set up our elections, the candidates that are on there, the races and all that is considered a project. That's when we do our proofing. Now, when they do that and everything is good, one set goes to our ballot maker, meaning the project. A project comes to us to do on the BMDs and the scanners, and another project goes to no ink. There have been times when it gets to no ink and we upload the elections, the voters are not there. Some of that happened in November. And so what we do is we reach out. Hey, what's going on? When we upload it, we check the ballots, they were there, they're not. Unfortunately, in this particular election, with them trying to make a fix, they did it during people voting, and it ended up making it even worse. So the process is supposed to be once CES of Department of Secretary of State, and I keep using acronyms, but that's the Center of Election System, that's with the Secretary of State. When they make the project of all races, all candidates, titles and whatnot, they have to send them to 2 different locations. That is to the ballot maker, the person that print the ballots, and then there's to No Ink, who sends us the electronic upload of the ballots. And although they get sent the same things, there have been times when on the side of No Ink, we don't get what we're supposed to have.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Commissioner Robinson, did you have any comments?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Commissioner Angel?
I'll just make a couple brief comments. So first, I don't want your job, and I do sympathize with the job. But I think, as everybody knows, I mean, we reside in a time where election integrity is being questioned constantly and is of great importance, and that's by both parties and nonpartisan. With that being said, is I just don't want the county that I love to end up on TV. I don't look very good on it. So that was a halfway joke. Somebody could have
I said
laughed.
be either.
So, but no, seriously. So that's the biggest concern. I think that's the question everybody has is around election integrity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis?
Hey, good evening, and thank you for your presentation. I'm sure that was very informative to a lot of the public who is watching and the public who is here. I did have a couple of comments. One, I had a question. So I know you said there are checks and balances and the poll managers get there about 6:15 on the day of voting. Do we have a process where we vet the ballots the day before polls open?
Can you repeat that?
Do we have a process where we vet the ballots the day before the polls open?
So the day before the poll managers have the ballots, and are you speaking like the live ballots?
So we know there's going to be an election on May 21st.
Right,
I'm a preparer.
okay,
So in my mind, I know exactly what races are on the ballot. I know who's running.
Okay.
I know what it should look like.
right,
So if it were me, if not the day before that, I want to make sure that I know when I open up that next day, everything's going to be correct. Nowhere in your process did I hear that. So I just heard that the poll managers show up at 6:15 so that they can be prepared 10 minutes prior to the polls opening. To me, that's too late.
So to answer your question, the day before Election Day, the poll managers do come pick up their ballots. It's not a process for them to no the ones that normally give us a lot of, I ain't gonna say a lot of, been several times that we had some issues with the no ink system where it's electronic. So that part is done in-house with us. And so if it's okay when we process it and test it and do our logic and accuracy with that and it goes out, we expect it to do what it did for us. But times have shown what it did not. And that's not something that the poll manager could do. Ballots, of course, we could make it mandatory, but we actually do those checkings. We have people that actually keep up with the provisionals, the emergencies that we do send over to make sure that they're correct. So if the BMD or the no ink poll pad is not working properly, those are the next steps. The next step is to use emergency ballot, period. The only time you use provisional, if there is some type of situation where either you are not showing up in the system, but you know you're registered, or you don't have the proper ID. So just to answer your question, I agree, 6 o'clock should be better, but it wouldn't help them with the poll pad, the no ink poll pads that are electronically to know if the races are on there or not.
A Secretary of State issue.
No, it's not a Secretary of State issue. There has to be a way for us to verify that the ballot is correct before the date of election. It works in a whole lot of other counties where they don't have this issue. And when I heard your process, and it concerned me when you started talking about the municipalities and them sending things over to your office, and there not being a process in place that you vet the information that they send you. To me, as the elections office, the elections office should know every single race in Henry County and everybody running. They should know that the city of Stockbridge just went to districts. They should know the judges and their cycles. They should know that judges don't run against each other. They have particular races and they have numbers assigned to that. These things should be known. If I go to the website right now, there are some things on there that are wrong. Right now, today. And these are things that we have brought up continuously. So it concerns me that we don't have this stuff right before election time, because we need to have this stuff right. And to Commissioner England's point, I don't want to see Henry County on the local news, the national news, any news. I want voters to have confidence that when they step to the polls, that they know they're going to have a correct ballot in front of them so that their votes will count. And so, once again, it concerns me, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but it just concerns me. It doesn't seem that we have SOPs, standard operating procedure, where we vet the things that come from whatever entity they come from. You said that this sample ballot that went out, 2 people vetted it, and it went out, and it was wrong. So what's the fail-safe for that? Do they, when the 2 people vet it, does it then go to you before it finally goes out? Like, there has to be some process where it's vetted, and then you say the other sets of eyes. If it were me, I'm putting my eyes on it before it goes out. We don't have elections very often. They're not every day. They're not every month. So before it goes out, it should be correct. And so, like I said, I'm not going to belabor the point, but standard operating procedures should be written well in advance. We should know exactly what's coming from the cities. Even if the cities don't get it right, we should know what it is and know how to correct it, because we should know what the races are. There aren't that many elected officials in Henry County. Maybe 40, just a little over 40. We should know what those are. We should know what their cycles are, and we should be able to correct ballots before the public sees them. So I'll leave it at that.
And if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I do agree with you. So those are some of the steps that we've taken place to do standard operation procedures. There's some being written now for qualifying as well as ballot proofing. Not making any excuses. I eat cake. You know, if I am accountable when things didn't go well. I wasn't there. I wish I could have been. And it could be an excuse, but we have been working on redistricting. So we were like part of some of the last counties that were being waited on to finish redistricting so they can get the project going. So unfortunately, there was a little pressure on us, and my supervisor at the time went ahead and pushed it through without me even seeing it. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I totally hear you. I don't like being on the news. I had to be on there a couple of years ago, and I cannot turn my stomach to see it to this day. So I am making changes so that this does not happen. I don't like it. I don't want y'all to be on there. I don't want Henry County to look bad, as well as myself and my leaders. So I'm in agreement with you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Price?
I just have a question about the provisional ballots. Sometimes things can get lost in verbal transmission. So on the day of elections, if someone has to cast a provisional ballot, do they have anything they can take with them in writing to explain the process or the further steps, or is this just given to them verbally?
It's a slip that they have. Once they do complete the whole process, they take them off to the side and they're explained everything. They explain how to properly fill out the ballot. They explain and they mark off what their reason why we're actually issuing the provisional ballot, and they get a slip explaining the timeline that they have to bring in whatever proof that they need for us to be able to approve that provisional so that it counts.
Okay, so I do have a couple of other questions. With regards to the parties, it used to be where both parties could hold their qualifying at the elections office, but that has somehow changed this election, and they had to go out and find places to hold their qualifying. Is there a reason why that was changed, making them having to go to different places? Because then what they had to do was each day bring the paperwork from those candidates that had qualified to the elections office. And, I don't know if maybe that could have cut down on some of the confusion, but why are they not now allowed to be at the Board of Elections?
So it was initially done that to cut down confusion. So with having both parties in the same building, you had conflicts. And so instead of having them in the same building, respectfully, if you would have your candidates for your party to come to a location for you to qualify, then you won't have people bumping heads and saying what this person didn't do or that person didn't do, because everybody's responsible and know the laws, or should, on the proper way to conduct qualification, knowing when you're supposed to turn things in and the deadlines. But you had people that will bump heads, and there was a lot of conflict in 2020 that I just made a decision that it's just best that we did it separate. We're a nonpartisan office, and so doing qualifying with parties, we just felt like they should do it separately and keep the office nonpartisan.
Okay. And to go back on something that Commissioner Lewis had said, with regards to the cities, each city's charter is different as to how their elections run, far as their council members. And so, for example, Hampton has a different way than Stockbridge now, because now Stockbridge is by district. But in Hampton is whoever the top 3 vote getters. I guess basically, does your staff know how each city's charter says how they go about electing people? Because I think that could cut down on a lot of confusion when you can vote for 3 people, making sure that your staff is aware what the city charter says as far as how their council members and mayor are elected.
Yes, Chair, I agree with you. This mishap with that vote for 3 taught me a lot and started making different changes so that these matters wouldn't happen. I'm collaborating with the city clerks again to work with us better, as well as making sure we are more familiar with the charter. But I figured if we collab together, then that will keep a lot of that down that what took place and just moving without, having verification from themselves.
Okay. Would you mind sharing this packet with the board?
Absolutely. I have some other information that I was going to prepare to send you all as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. If we could have our county manager, Sherry Matthews, come forward and please present the consent
I
agenda.
always forget to use it. I don't know what I did.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the board. This is your consent agenda for Tuesday, April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Under Extension Services, we have a resolution of the Henry County Board of Commissioners requesting approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Board of Regents regarding cooperative extension. Under Financial Services, we have a resolution approving the FY 2021-2022 BOC Governmental Final Budget Appropriation Amendment. Under Human Resources, we have a resolution of the Henry County Board of Commissioners to approve and adopt the Henry County Employee Benefit and Medical Insurance Plan for 2024-2025. Under Planning and Zoning, we have a de-annexation, which is DEAX 2401. No public hearing is required. Henry County has received a request for de-annexation of a total of 10 county-owned properties located along Henry Parkway, Industrial Boulevard, and Highway 2081, consisting of a combined 508.806 plus or minus acres in land lot 164 of the 7th District. There are multiple parcel numbers beginning with 093-01-003,000, 093-01-006,000, 093-01-006,001, 093-01-006,002, 093-01-006,003, 093-01-006,006, 093-01-007,000, 093-01-007,001, 093-01-014-000, and 093-01-016,000, all located in District 5. We also have a resolution approving a request for a new streetlight district for Newberry, Phases 1 and 2, subdivision on Mount Carmel Road, located in District 5. And then we have a resolution approving a request for a new streetlight district for Hawthorne Ridge subdivision on Mount Carmel Road, also located in District 5. Madam Chair, this ends the consent agenda.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a motion and a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Commissioner Robinson?
Discussion. Aye.
Aye.
None, all in favor?
Motion carries.
Robinson. Discussion. Aye. None, all in favor?
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the ordinance amending Section 3-3-68, the Code of Henry County, increasing the hotel-motel exercise tax from 5% to 8%. Our county attorney will present.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. This ordinance is to amend Section 3-3-68 of the Code of Henry County, Georgia, to increase the hotel-motel tax from 5% to 8%. On March 15th, 2010, the Board of Commissioners adopted a resolution. It was Resolution 10-52, requesting the Henry County Legislative Delegation introduce local legislation to the 2010 Georgia General Assembly. And the purpose of that legislation was to get permission to increase the hotel-motel tax rate to 8%. The delegation actually introduced the legislation. It was passed by the General Assembly in 2010, and it was signed by the governor into law same year. For some reason, the ordinance was never amended after it was authorized by the act of the General Assembly and the governor. So this ordinance codifies the changes that were authorized by the General Assembly.
Okay, all right. Are there any questions from the board? Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, ma'am. When we go from 5% to 8%, it's going to give us what we call unrestricted funding. Can you tell us what we can and cannot do with unrestricted funding?
Okay, so the increase in the taxes, you have to use half of the additional taxes for the purposes that were set out in the legislation. And those additional taxes were designated for interchange beautification program, wayfinding, signage and road enhancement, and parks, trails, museums, theme parks, veterans memorials, and recreational facilities, meeting, convention, exhibit, and public assembly facilities, and then other tourist product development activities. So those are the purposes that the half of the 3%, which is the increased amount in the hotel-motel tax, have to be used for.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, could I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Got a motion? Got a second? All in favor? Commissioner Robinson?
No questions.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Are you in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else we need to do?
Not on this one. I have two more items.
Okay, so you got some more, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Resolution authorizing the execution of a project development agreement with Train for the development of a central energy plant.
Okay, this is simple resolution. Train US, Inc. Is a leader in doing project development for energy-efficient projects. And they have a product development agreement that is actually it's undergirded by a co-op agreement with Omnia Partners, which is a national partnership that does procurement for public agencies such as the county. The project development agreement will be done pursuant to that agreement, which means that there are protections built into our agreement with Train that are useful for public entities. And this is only for the development of the project. It's not for any of the engineering and subsequent work that needs to be done to create the central energy plant. So we're asking for authorization to sign the agreement so they can get started on developing the project plan.
Okay. Hutch, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about the project plan?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, board members. So the county has a unique opportunity to capitalize on consolidating our facilities here on the government complex. And the central energy plant will enable us to save money by creating chill water and hot water through boilers and pumping them to the existing buildings here, and plus anything that we develop on the campus.
Okay.
Yeah. We also, in the energy plant, will have backup power capabilities to be able to push out to any of the facilities. And also, we're looking at the potential of utilizing a solar array over on the landfill to help supplement energy needs.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next item is a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement with Henry County Development Authority regarding conveyance of 28.7 acres located at Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton in order to market the subject project for data centers, advanced manufacturing, aerospace, and/or advanced manufacturing automotive.
And this is an intergovernmental agreement. That was a very concise, very concise caption, but that's exactly what the intergovernmental agreement authorizes, the county to convey the property to the development authority so that they can try to attract those types of industries and employers. And we have the chair of the development authority and the Development Authority's counsel here as well, if you have any questions of them.
Well, probably the council is going to be the one that's going to be able to answer the questions that I have.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I set back a couple of questions or concerns that I had with regards to this tying up the property for an undocumented length of time. If the county was to find use for this property, I think that I had requested that we give notification to be able to move forward if we were able, or if something came across to us. And so I want to know how that's going to be addressed.
Yes, ma'am. I did include that. Those changes were included in the draft that is before you today as the resolution. The Development Authority appreciates the fact that, first of all, that the Board of Commissioners purchased this property so that the northern part of this particular property, of course, is adjacent to the airport, and it gives you the opportunity to control that. The southern portion, which is about 28.7 acres, because of wetlands in between, does not appear that it would reasonably work together with the northern part of the property. And so we are seeking to market it, and apparently Mr. Finn tells us that we've got several prospects for this as soon as we can get it closed and be able to use it for these purposes. Most likely, he tells me that it's likely that this would be a data center, but there is specific provision in there as you requested. If the Board of Commissioners comes to the Development Authority and indicates that you've got a project, we will then work with you in regard to trying to promote the property with that project.
Okay, all right. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Aye, okay. It
Madam
passes.
Chair, members of the board, may I be excused? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I should note
Thank
our
you.
chair, Mr. Culpepper, is here to make sure I don't mess up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Attorney. Stephanie, do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the March 19th, 2024 BOC minutes?
I move to approve the.
Got a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and second. No discussion, all in favor? Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Okay. Upcoming meetings, May 7th at 9 a.m. is a regular scheduled BOC meeting. Notice of date change. The May 21st, 2024 regular scheduled BOC meeting has been rescheduled to Wednesday, May 29th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Can I get a motion for us to move into executive session to discuss pending litigation?
Move to go.
Motion is second. Okay, all in favor? Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Let's go into executive session. Okay, I gotta go to the restroom.
too, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no, I'm good. Can I get a motion for us to reconvene from executive session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Commissioner Robinson? Okay,
Aye.
okay. So county attorney?
Yes, the board is voting to authorize the settlement of the action that we discussed in executive session.
Okay, so can I get approval of for the affidavit and the resolution pertaining to executive session? Got a motion and a second. No further discussion, all in favor? Commissioner Robinson? Okay, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.